What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode. I think is this 3 officially, I think, of Earn Your Liberation right here on Black Power Media. I'm Jared Ball, joined by my main men's in them, Geechee Yaw and brother Diallo. What's going on, fellas? Good morning, greetings.
Yo, what's up? How y'all?
How you doing?
Man, as good as I am as good as could be expected. What's up to the remixers coming in? And to those who will see this later, peace and welcome to you as well. We got a lot to get into. But Diallo, go ahead.
I said we got Kamau with his why lie, I need a bear sign. Diallo, you know about that?
Nope. What's that?
We have the signs of like, why lie? I just need a bear. Just give me some money for a bear. We got Kamau with that.
So support. You can support the channel via Patreon, YouTube memberships, and if you don't have any ducats, you can like, share, subscribe. That's all free. Help the video
we take
circulate.
Crypto. We take crypto too.
I don't know if we take crypto yet. We haven't. We're developing our Black Power Media NFT, and so people can get more information on that at blackpowermedia.org. So and help get Kamau off the street there. You know what I mean? So definitely appreciate it. Speaking of Kamau, I did post a classic interview we did on Black August and his philosophy of law yesterday. I found a classic joint from about 10 years or so ago. Put that up on the channel. People should check that out. A lot of other stuff on the channel. And today, I would like to start with a follow-up to something that I did yesterday real quick and take care of this. So yesterday, please check out the interview I did with Dr. Josh Myers on his book Of Black Study. I really encourage, I would like for us maybe here at Earn Your Liberation to deal with it. There's a lot in there for all of us to chop up, and it deserves a lot more attention than I gave it yesterday. But similarly, I told, now to be also fair, I told Dr. Myers off air that there was a slight issue that arose for me with the book, but that I didn't want to take time with it yesterday because it's not his fault. It's not his fault. So as I told him yesterday,
you lucky on that day I was acting cool, cuz I told you I ain't got time for that, but today I got time, cuz.
Yeah, that young man passed away.
Oh yeah.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, they found him like outside a tire repair station.
Where you from? Chicago?
Somebody shot him. Nah, we ain't got. We don't grow them type of white folks in Chicago.
He sound like he was from Chicago in the South.
Oh man, does that mean I can't have fun with the drop anymore?
I think you can.
I mean, the drop
his legacy will live on.
Okay,
his legacy will live on.
Well, because I did say to Brother Myers, and again, it's not his fault. And my issue is actually not with him. And in fact, I even wrote a quick, I even wrote up a little thing to help me get through this real quick, just to make it clear. So let me just show you what I'm talking about here, so that we're all clear. In the conclusion to Dr. Myers' book Of Black Study, which again I think is fantastic, and I can't wait to continue. We're going to use it in 2 of my classes this semester and everything. I'm just going to skip ahead to this section here. This is in the conclusion where he's talking sort of in the context of Tony K. Bambara and sort of wrapping up one of the general arguments of his book, which is that the people listed here, June Jordan, Cedric Robinson, Du Bois, Jacob Carruthers, Bambara, are emblematic of what is happening to Black studies and and Black study, where the generative brilliance and radical revolutionary potential is being replaced or suppressed by insufficient representations of these people by pundits and others who claim to be carrying their mantle today. So that's just one. Okay. So he writes here, that is, Myers writes here, in new media, experts are called in to tell us about things we already feel, if not know. The planet is imperiled. Black life is especially imperiled. Indeed, most conceptions of life are imperiled. They tell us that we live in market economies that do not recognize our ways of honoring human and natural life. This economic violence structures how we show up in policy discussions and debate. Then we are subject to state violence in the forms of police and in the guise of war and intervention. And we meet moralized when we are told that becoming indebted students is the only way out of the morass. Lord have mercy. Those who make it make peace with the system. They become individual exemplars, academic stars, and dare I say, thought leaders.
The coach's top thought leader.
People who represent the rest of us how to get over, who represent to the rest of us how to get over. Yet it never seems to work. When the university is not producing knowledge that maintains order, it is perpetuating inequality through an academic bureaucracy that has made knowledge a commodity. The substance be damned, unless it threatens order, of course. We must remain docile and complicit as the neoliberal order fails to meet our basic human needs and makes the planet uninhabitable. A global pandemic exposed what we already knew and simultaneously further enriched the already rich. Still, the experts have not really broken faith with the order that says these problems are solvable with improvement, refinement, better politics, better knowledge. Breaking the chain will be difficult, but do it we must. There are models. Writing in 2011, Africana Studies scholar Greg Carr places such questions of crisis and knowledge production at the center of the future of Black Studies, of the Black Studies Project. Quote, is our intellectual work in the field being put to the best uses? Are we asking the right questions, or even the same questions our ancestors and those not oriented to our privileged elite class status asked? Are our contemporary questions still deeply relevant, and as the environmental and experiential conditions that caused us to ask our initial human questions continue to exist, has the circumstance that interrupted and tethered that arc of human inquiry to the problematic of survival so altered it that liberation as a collective practice is no longer conceivable. So my point here is that he ends with this quote from 2011, or sort of not ends, but includes in his conclusion this statement from Dr. Carr from 2011, which I think presents, unfortunately, at this point, and again through no fault of his own, a major contradiction for Dr. Myers. Now, he's not alone in that, because as I'm going to show you here, I too have a similar contradiction from pre-existing work in a similar fashion. So I just want to come back to that. And oddly enough, from the same year, 2011, when this book, my first book, was published, I Mix What I Like, a mixtape manifesto. This is how I literally opened the book. People will not challenge us. They must treat us with silence. So watch who people quote when it comes to Black scholarship. If they're quoted, forget them. If they are considered the most compelling, the most brilliant, what you see then is someone that does not help us. It is the invisible. It is the ones that we know, the ones that do not receive grants, the ones that are not lauded or called superheroes in each other's books, or worse, still the ones who are not considered the best by white scholars who stand over our archives like vultures, keeping our history hostage and asking as the price of admission that you trade your soul for access to the things that your ancestors inscribed. Those people that write on the backs of books like that, this is the finest new scholar, this is the person that you should never quote. In fact, I'm sorry, those people that write on the backs of books that this is the finest new scholar, that is the person that you should never quote. Rather, buy all their books, read them for their sources, get the sources yourself, because what they have contributed is not a frame for interpreting, but rather they have given you a roadmap to the things that you need to reclaim. End quote, GregCarr Paradox. Now, I say that to say, because, and I've written this down here, through no fault of his own, Myers now paradoxically ends his book referencing a year 2011 and a scholar of immense generational importance who now exists for both Myers and myself as a contradiction we have placed. The good news, perhaps, is that given such a change, that another and more are, of course, possible. But in 2011, or 2011, a quote from Carr opens my first book. Here in 2023, a 2011 quote from Carr closes Myers. And in each case, the speaker today seems unrecognizable, or worse, has become one who seemingly answered his own question regarding the best use of our intellectual work by preferring academic stardom, thought leadership, commodifying and commercializing knowledge, and in defense of a neoliberal order having apparently failed to break faith with that order. As our debate and repeated confusion around my latest book and his review of Roland Martin's latest book demonstrate. This, again, is not Myers' fault any more than it was mine initially, and certainly does not in any way diminish the powerful contribution of Myers' book is, especially coming from an HBCU. All right, that's it. That was what I wanted to add. In other words, I think Carr has become, unfortunately, a parody of what Myers and I were quoting Carr as at one point representing a struggle against. So, all right, that's it.
You lucky on that day I was acting cool, cuz I told you I ain't got time for that, but today I got time, cuz.
So today I had time. So there it is. That was that. But that was all I wanted to say. But I didn't want to do it during the discussion yesterday because I think his book deserved its own, and I didn't want to put my own stuff in it. So that's why I left it alone. So that's that.
Bruh, you know, Carr them got $90 million now, so you better be careful how you talk about the man. You know what I mean? They got bank.
Well, I no, but see, that's the thing. I'm not sure. So actually, all jokes aside, I think similarly to the Morgan situation, Black Studies isn't getting any of that money. That's Defense Department money. That's STEM money. That's going to engineering and chemistry and military, whatever, or surveillance stuff. Yeah.
They still pushing STEM after all the tech sector layoffs.
In fact,
I thought there'd be another pipe dream for Black students to chase.
Just last week, in one of our introductory discussions with this semester's new class, I was sharing with them some of my criticism of cryptocurrency that someone had brought up. And then another student reminded what we had talked about the last semester, that Morgan had been encouraging them to take those courses. Like there was a whole Morgan State-led. So no, that's the point. The business schools, the various other departments that benefit from this, and I hate to say it this way because I feel like it's a major contradiction, but if we're trying to perform an honest analysis, even the way I feel about certain admin at my university or whatever I may feel about them or their behavior, they really don't have a choice unless they want to just, again, commit class suicide or do something truly radical with their own experience. Like you can't run these universities, and we can even talk about this in the context of EdReed if you all want. But I don't think you can expect these people to run these universities in any kind of a different way. So yeah, when they're attracting all of this money, but it's coming with specific, use it for military, use it for digital surveillance, use it for all of that cryptocurrency, use it for all of that stuff, and specifically do not give it to the liberal art.
But I think real quick, like to one of EdReed's point, and I think I shared this with y'all last time. Like I remember in college, there was this man who wanted to give $1 million to the football team, and the director was like, "Nah, we're gonna spread it out between the sports." So, I guess I'm curious how they can't spread that type of money. I guess when the state or the government gives them money, they have to do it this way. But like the individual donors, why can't they like put stipulations on their money too?
Well, the whole grant
they don't have that kind of money. Individual donors can't compete with DOD.
Yeah, but
no HBCU individual donor can compete with the Department of Defense and the military, and I mean with Raytheon and Boeing and Lockheed Martin.
The amount of money create the strings. Then, so you got your little dirty little $1 million. Then they ain't gonna hit.
It's not just that. Grants also come with evaluators.
That's true too.
They come with evaluators that track every dollar, and you have to account for where every dollar went, and you have to, literally show up and lay out before the donors how their money was utilized and the impacts of their money. You have to account for everything you did with that money. They don't give the money and walk away. I mean, them people ride the backs of every dollar. Comes with oversight and accountability.
Oh, yeah.
And that's one of the things I say that when you look at these individual wealthy Black donors and we dance in the streets and give all this social capital and props to the Oprahs and Bill Cosbys and LeBron James, that when they open a school or make a donation, but I never hear about those dollars being evaluated. I mean, why is it worthy of giving praise if someone wealthy, Black, says I'm giving money to violence or to poverty or for education, and we don't have any evaluation to determine whether that money actually went where they said it was going to go, and we have no real even interest in determining whether that money was impactful or not. Just the fact that they gave it, the ceremony and the big check is all we look for, and then we all turn a blind eye.
Forgive me real quick, but John. No, I don't know who you are, but with all due respect, I would argue that specifically few in these YouTube spaces know Dr. Carr's work better than I do. This is what I'm saying. So like, I'm not just picking on him for no reason. Like I have, like we laid it out in our debate, in private conversation, in invitation here and elsewhere. Like I've been very clear what the issues are. So I know very well his work. And my argument is most people who are coming to know him now through Karen Hunter and Roland Martin and all of these more popular shows, they are not familiar with his work. They haven't been engaged with Dr. Carr in spaces academically, professionally, as for as long as I have. So I'm very clear. So go check our debate that hosted by Kalanji on his platform, on his show, on this platform, or go back to previous shows of mine and where I've been more clear about why I'm saying what I'm saying about Dr. Carr, and go watch what he is doing and had said about me and my work. I mean, it's all very clear. So like, this is not, and I'm not proud or happy to be feeling this way, but I just, but it is, I think when I read that, it was a clear, stark to me contradiction. So I don't think, John, my work, and I would argue you don't know Dr. Carr's either.
Well, yeah, that's what I was
long.
That's what I would say. Like, those people hit those comments, you give them the link and have them defend what they say, and I'm not sure that they go argue.
I just, if you all want, we can. I don't mind inviting people to if John wants to step up and explain himself. I don't have a problem with that. And I've, and again, like I've engaged Dr. Carr directly, privately, publicly, and I just can't help but notice that. And I think it would be unfair I felt like it would be unfair to not raise that contradiction. What I see is that contradiction, though. So anyway, and man, go to imixwhatilike.org. I mean, we have, I don't know, maybe I would say, let me be fair. I would say a good maybe 10 hours at this point of interviews and discussions with Carr over the years. Like we got anyway, so but it's okay. I mean, I get it. And like I get it. But it's not from a lack of knowledge that I reach this conclusion. That's all. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, anyway. Where else did we want to go? Where do we want to go with, or what else? What did I interrupt with that?
No, I think we was about to start with the crime meme, the new crime meme that's coming out. EdReed, he done cry on every interview so far. So
what do you all think about that? Are you how close and I don't know, was there my bad. I got to get out the chat. My bad.
You got beef in the chat, bro.
Well, I'm not sure. So if it's a lack of grace,
man, listen.
Go ahead. Is it am I being graceless? Is that what you're saying? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. And maybe I'm wrong I'm open to be. I'm right about the argument. you could argue, you know, if folks feel like I'm not being unfair, or whatever, I don't know. Actually, I don't agree with that. Let me just stop. I said what I said. It is what it is, and I'm right, and I've proven it. So it is. But anyway, go ahead. I'm getting out, Leah. I hear you. Go ahead, Diallo.
What? I don't know nothing about no ball chasing, man. I don't care nothing about no ball chasing. I hope every HBCU defunds its football program, goddamn brain damage sport, and completely defunds. Talk about waste of resources and effort. And I think it's as I told y'all before, I think it's tragic that it takes ball chasing or some celebrity bullshit to get black people to even entertain. I'm sorry, did I say black people? I mean human people here on Human Power Media.
Wow,
I've been practicing being human being for the last week. Hasn't, you know, and I had a good head start. You know, I was in a area that only had 1% black demographics. Only 1% of the population was black, so I had a really good chance to practice just being human. But beyond that, we got too much evidence that people are bringing brain damage, and that this whole NFL and football ball chasing at all levels is extracting more from the black community in terms of talent and brain energy than it ever puts into our community. And so
I mean, my whole thing, my bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I just think we got to stop allowing black issues and struggles to ride on the shoulders of these ball chasers and minstrels. It's tiring.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything to disagree with there. I think that for me, the issue was, again, that you know, when I see EdReed or Deion, or as I said the other day previously, like when you know, when Ye had his initial crisis with Sway and all of that, to me, it's them coming crashing into that wall of the limits of black capitalist fantasy, that or the fantasy of black exceptionalism, or the rarity of their class, however people want to define it. But in other words, you know, without being it's hard for. I think it is hard for them to realize, having come from an experience where they're coming out of Miami and Florida State and having Hall of Fame careers, and everybody's recruiting them and throwing money at them and praising them and you know, giving them business opportunities and all this other stuff. And then all of a sudden you come into the institutional reality, the institutional colonial reality of the HBCU, where there aren't resources like that, where there isn't support like that, where there isn't an interest like that, where the function of the university's program isn't to produce an athletic outlet that works for the political economy of a colonial state. Like, you know, it's like the HBCU is not here for that. So of course there's not going to be, and never mind the economy of that we talk about all the time, of black people, specifically in the economy in general, where black people don't have any money. So this idea that boosters should come back, or we got to donate back, or whatever, black people who graduate from Bethune-Cookman are not earning the kinds of money that Alabama graduates are, whatever, to give back, even if they wanted to. And then, as I said the other day, even we talked about in my classes, Morgan State's stadium seats 10,000 people. You either need a massive reinvestment to put in a 100,000 seat stadium and much more, or you need to recognize that no ad revenue is coming for that, no streaming contract. I saw Roland Martin once, you know, complaining that why aren't HBCUs getting better streaming arrangements and all this other stuff? Because what advertiser is going to? First of all, you don't even fill your own stadium, but even if you did, it's 10,000 people. Who? Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, this goes back to the opening discussion about education and black studies. And if all these universities do, and all I ever hear is like as if our role is to mimic what white people got, or do what white people do, or is that they're the bar, they're the standard. So white folks got these stadiums, they got these contracts, they got these ball chasing teams. What do we need? You know, has our academic institutions, that they aren't ours? I mean, these.
Yeah, I think that's the answer right there, though.
Historically human universities and college.
Yeah, Yeah, let's get it.
But back when we were so unenlightened to believe that there was a such thing as black people, back in those days, last week, a week ago, back when I believed that there were black people.
He
It
getting
was
all the
all
shots
good
off.
just a week
He
ago.
getting all the shots off now, but he wasn't shooting when
I didn't get a chance to shoot, y'all.
Hey,
Okay.
Wait, do we need to have a debrief? What happened?
Wow.
What, you felt like you got shut out? What happened, Diallo?
Wow. Go back and watch the show. Go back.
I was going to defend you. I was going to defend you, but I didn't want to sound harsh. But I was going to ask them if they trying to get the anti-racist money, because that's what it looked like. I was like, look, y'all trying to get.
I already said they were trying to fill that niche, but I was trying to just speak to what they were saying in the moment and what I had read. I was trying to stay within those parameters, you know. And I still to this day am a great. I owe Malefi Ashanti a debt I could never repay him, because his book, The Afrocentric Idea, made me realize that black people outside of the African continent are still Africans. I mean, human beings outside. But now he said everybody African, so I don't feel so special anymore. But back in 1992, I realized that the human beings that came out of Africa, but now he's saying all of us are African. Back then, I just thought, you know, me and my ancestors were Africans, but no, everybody.
No,
African,
just for clarity, Diallo, I think your show on Wednesdays on BPM is monthly. I don't think you're doing it weekly.
No,
we can't
I
afford
was
weekly.
I was planning on doing it
weekly.
It's just monthly. No, I was.
I don't
actually
know. It was
planning
up to
on,
you. I thought.
Yeah, I was planning on doing it weekly, but I was in Santa Barbara, and then I had to drive to LA, and I couldn't get back and forth. I brought my computer set up, but I didn't get to the hotel room in time to go on, and I just didn't want to step on anybody else's broadcast time. So I was between Santa Barbara and LA, so I wasn't able. But I'll be back this Wednesday.
Okay, good. So we just
sorry about that.
Yeah,
sorry about that. Yeah,
the people would wonder.
Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to go out of town. It was an emergency. Had to fill in for a good friend had an obligation there that she couldn't speak to. So my wife and I went there and kind of filled in for her because she had a death in the family. It was a mess, but we got it together. Got a good team. We have a good team here.
Hey Jared, play that "I Got Time" that they dropped for Diallo, so he can go off real quick.
I ain't going off. Nah, I'm done.
I was lucky on that day. I was acting cool, cuz I told you I ain't got time for that. But today I got time, cuz.
Nah, I got enlightened today. Cuz I'm enlightened now. But all that to say, you know, I'm sick of we chasing that. We educating ourselves to speak to white people's goals and objectives. We're trying to set up our institutions and facilities to mimic or fully replicate what white folks do, when our goal should not even just be different, but counter to what white folks are doing. So we got to have hundreds of stadiums. Maybe we could just turn them stadiums into organic farms. I don't know. Maybe we just sit back and totally rethink these historically human universities and colleges.
So that reminds me, I forgot that today is
Blackfish Fridays.
Just wanted to
and I got people in my family that have been raising up their offspring to be athletes from day one. You know, and I got relatives and extended relatives. They like the books, the Bible, and the ball. It's like our whole world is just trying to. That is.
No, I was mad. I was mad that I didn't have a left-handed son.
I'm left-handed.
If I had a left-handed son, I would have abandoned everything and turned him into a pitcher and try to get that big paycheck.
I thought you was gonna say boxer.
Oh no! I want him getting hit. At most get that one Tommy John surgery and get your shoulders fixed so you can throw
You just
unnaturally.
Want him to have,
absolutely.
You just want him to have
corroded
joints.
That's it. Corroded joints.
Yeah,
no
you'll sacrifice his cartilage, but not his
it.
intellect. That's
no. I would sacrifice his intellect. I don't have time. You don't have time to reread it. Get out there. The sister on South Side would be my model. You got that. That's my new show.
I love that show.
And when she's talking about her sons trying to make them basketball players, that's what I'm talking about. One is the basketball player. And she bad at the scientist.
Yeah,
talk about that science.
I think and the fact that black people mad that our ball chasing facilities aren't up to par with white folks' ball chasing facilities. You know, it's just absurdist.
But,
and
so it's not that I don't. It's not that I disagree, but it's just that I do recognize the structure. Like, there's no. We would really have to have some major revolutionary movement to make that happen. To turn. Because what leadership is going to come into these universities and do something that you're talking about doing? You know,
that's fine. If and I understand that we got to work up to that and all that. But in this moment, what we can do without any money, without protesting in the streets, without sucking tear gas and getting hit in that billy clubs, we can change our assessment, our conclusions, our understanding about the situation, so we can think differently. That don't cost nothing. You could be out picking cotton with a bad attitude. You could be out picking cotton with rage in your heart. You could be out picking cotton with Jesus on your heart and a song on your breath, sing it on the sweet by and by. So all I'm saying is, at this moment, we ain't going to get the revolution. We ain't going to get no material change without thinking and concluding differently. So just saying, well, this is how it is, and we need a revolution to change it. I'm saying, you know, the ball chasing and the athletic facility, if we could just render that, put it in its proper place. I ain't even going to take ball chasing away from the community. But if we can put it in the proper perspective and give it its relevance, its necessary relevance, and reorient our energies, our attention, and even our value system, you know, I think we would go a lot further.
When you say this is a good time, though, so if the students are protesting, they got mode, they got these same issues that they have in every college,
right?
Like, what do you think is a good time to, like, either radicalize or organize?
There's an old saying. The thing that wake you up is the thing that can put you to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you are awakened, if you are enraged, if you are mobilized by some viral moment related to a football coach, a discontent football coach, because the conditions is not what got him in the streets. The conditions pre-existed this celebrity coach.
Yeah, which he should.
So all they need is another celebrity, which is what they do all the time. They bring in another celebrity, or they throw some token this, or like, okay, Nike will come in and build a better stadium, and then we go back to the Modi campus. Mm-hmm. So that's it kind of scares me when certain things enlighten us or enrage us or mobilize us. That means that's your foundation. That's the fertile ground from which this current uprising at Bethune come from.
So, by the way, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it's just a weak foundation. It wasn't the scholarship. It wasn't the intellect. It wasn't the conditions. It wasn't Black pride and Black solidarity. I mean, human pride, human solidarity. It was the firing of a ball chaser. You know, so that's what really this is all about. And that's what, and plus the mode, plus the facilities conditions. That's an add-on, that's an addendum. That's a weak foundation. I would be sitting, if I was a student there, I'd be sitting in the mode trying to get my grades and get the hell out of there. You know, because that's a weak foundation to start a movement.
If they wasn't mobilizing before, and we just didn't hear about it until now.
That as well is a problem. But you know, if you could show me the evidence that there was a voice before, a hidden voice, Black Twitter, you know, especially Black youth today don't need the mainstream media to get their words out anymore.
I don't.
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if I fully agree with that point about Black Twitter. In fact, I have a general running disagreement with what some think is the power behind Black Twitter. But because ultimately what people point to is when Black Twitter is able to get the mainstream to respond. It's not that Black Twitter in and of itself produces some sort of new politic or consciousness or movement. But that said, I think that well, I mean, no, in general, I think you're right that because we're broadly speaking disorganized and people are responding to incidents often, as you say, surrounded or centered around celebrity, the outcome won't be successful. And if the outcome goal is improved funding for ball chasing equipment, to put it in your way, then I think we've lost the point. So I would agree with you. And this is again why I don't mean to bring it back to that, but I think this is why why I'm frustrated with, in terms of what I was saying about Dr. Carr, and why I'm so appreciative of what Myers has written in this book. Because the point of the book is to remind, and we even start the conversation by looking at the differences between the Black university as it was conceived by Black radical intellectuals and the HBCU, which is a very different thing as conceived by white conservatives. So run by neoliberal colonial Black admin. So because when Diallo, you raise something like, why don't we turn stadiums into, farms? And I was even thinking, if when they were showing video Bethune-Cookman's football facilities, I'm saying, well, to your point about the head injuries, even here's another reason: abandon that sport. And if you need intramural sports, which I think are important, develop a flag football league, for instance, which I just saw thriving out here in Baltimore County a couple of years ago. They got like a whole official league with teams and refs, and they had a tournament that was adjacent to one of my daughter's soccer tournaments a couple of years ago, and I sat there watching it. I was like, and it was actually compelling. You get a lot of the same in terms of the athletics of throwing, catching, patterns, timing, speed, all of that. So if you just take away the hits and so anyway, my point is you could do all of that and start to reframe or rethink what those spaces can be, both physically and intellectually, and even in terms of producing food or something else. Anyway, go ahead.
And because I'm not anti-sports. My sons played basketball, they played soccer, they did karate and capoeira, and anytime they showed the slightest hint of interest in any sport, I always supported and facilitated that. And also cycling. I think that's a wonderful sport. I really like cycling. But here's the thing where how white folks get us. They direct us through deficits. And what that means is they'll deny us some shit that it was easy for them to give us. They'll deny us shit that would cost them essentially nothing to give us, but they'll deny us that. And then we'll orient all this human brain power. Yeah, they've chased balls, but they're not ball chasers. It's the difference between chasing a ball and being a ball chaser. Not all ball chasers are ball chasers. Not all ball chasing is ball chasers.
Hey, that sounds like some 19 Keys drops.
The coach's top thought leader.
Say it again, Diallo, one more time. Drop it
well, my son just decided he's not going out for the track and field team for some reason. He's not. He ran cross country, but he's not going to go out for the track and field team. So I don't know why he did that. I wanted him to get on the track and field team. But anyway.
I mean, they out here growing up thinking they got their own decisions. My daughters doing the same thing. Who they think they are getting older?
They
up making their own choices.
It's annoying as hell.
They are.
Before we get too far away, I want the conversation we had in the group chat about PWI versus HBCU, and because we had this conversation also in the think tank, and I compared it to like PWI is like Birth of the Nation, the HBCU is like watching Wakanda Forever, and is there one better than the other? Is there one more beneficial for our kids than the other? And which one do you advocate for and why?
Well, before, I just want to talk about directing us through deficits, because as I was saying, white people will deny us, the humans of power. I don't know how we define it. Maybe it's class. It's
not class. It's not class.
It's caste.
It's definitely not class.
Because Mark's right.
You start to talk about don't do that.
I don't know. Certain humans doing human things, doing different other inhumane humans. The inhumane humans.
Yurugu.
I gotta bring some up without too. But go ahead.
They deny us shit that they could easily give us, and they wrap that shit up in casing. And we spend all our time fighting for those deficits, to fill those deficits, those artificial deficits. We want to sit at a lunch counter. We want to sit in the front of the bus. We want to have a 100,000-foot stadium. We want the mode abatement on our campuses, which they could have done that shit. Just what we saw. They signed a piece of paper. They signed an edict and problem solved. And we spent all the racial wealth gap, the tech gap. I remember black people running around. There's a tech gap. We fill in all these gaps.
The digital divide.
Therefore, because we keep trying to put out all these small fires, and these deficits, these artificial deficits, that it seems that our oppressor just does it for spite and meanness and pettiness. Because really, how does it hurt your power to let a kid have a laptop? How does it threaten the institutions of white domination, letting black people chase balls improperly and in bigger stadiums? Because, you know, it all gonna feed into their larger economy anyway. But they do that because it never allows us to look at the larger frame of oppression and the larger infrastructure and systems and institutions of oppression. Because when we get to sit at the lunch counter, when they eventually do the mode abatement at Bethune and they bring in another celebrity coach to assign another celebrity coach, problem solved, and we just hop to the next atrocity, as opposed to just taking away their capacity to deny or grant us anything. Having a people in power to to give you shit, it's just as bad, or it just leads to them being in a position to take shit away. So that's just all I want to say. So we can go back to this PWI and black, and I conclude that it ain't no such thing as these black universities. If it's only in black face, if it's only in black, if the ideology, if the objectives, if the curriculum isn't African, if it ain't black radical, then it's just black people predominantly in a space doing white folk shit.
I've never gone to an HBCU as a student, so I would want to clarify that. But there you go, Keontae. That's it. That's the answer to everything. But I will contend, based on what I've seen as a faculty member all these years, and remembering my time at Frostburg in undergrad, I think that the 500 to 600 black student population that existed at Frostburg, and about a 6,000, 5,000 overall student population, had more cohesiveness and unity and had greater relationships with the existing black faculty than I think overall exists at Morgan. I could be wrong. I'm basing this on anecdotal discussions and experiences with students all these years, and my observations, and admittedly my bias. But I had, there were Jean-Marie Macong, shout out to him, shout out to Dr. Nelson, shout out to Dr. Hyman, who, despite his name, was a very black nationalist, former Nation of Islam brother. And probably a couple of more for me. Like I think me and my clique of black students, our relationship with them and with each other, I think, again, was more cohesive than and powerful, or at least than what I see, happening. And the number one reason, and that looking back as a faculty, the number one reason why I think faculty are not having the relationship with students that I think we should have at Morgan is this goddamn 4-4 teaching load. Mm-hmm. The faculty at Frostburg, again, it's a small state college. It's not some major or university. It's not some, but their teaching load was not as severe. They, Western Maryland is a tucked away, isolated community. So people, we're not in East Baltimore. On a semi-open campus, and the teaching load for faculty, which again, as Dr. Myers and I talked a little bit about yesterday, is in addition to advising the unofficial, counseling of students that you end up doing all the time, the endless meetings, so there's just anyway. So I think it ultimately, I'm going to say this, it depends on where you end up. It just depends. If you can have a beautiful experience in either setting, but neither is guaranteed to give you one.
Would y'all become?
As who derives the most benefit from those educated, those exiting those institutions.
Oh, the state, no question.
Yeah, exactly.
No
we can talk about how you feel and your personal experience.
Oh, right on. Okay.
And the good time you had. I'm cool with that. And if you need, because I mean, if you got to go to a HBCU for a Black experience, that's rather a sad assessment for me. And I've seen a lot of people go through that.
Oh, a lot of students say that.
Black students, parents
put
them in all white schools and move to the whitest neighborhoods to have the best of everything. And they define the best as being in a predominantly white childhood, a predominantly white middle school and grade school. And then they go to HBCU to get all the Blackness they were denied from birth till 12th grade in high school. So and they go there. And so that's some really weird. And I know some people that do that, but we know that these HBCU graduates, we got the HBCU websites proudly display where the students go and work and their contributions in the private and public sector. And we know their work in the private and public sector is not that of radical liberation, empowerment, resistance. They are status quo AF. And they support and embrace the systems and institutions of global white domination and capitalism, by and large.
So you would say, obviously, you both will be comfortable saying that it's like getting a colonial versus the neo-colonial education. You can see it as an example with the Black dude from the Pentagon who pretty much saying at Howard that we're preparing the students to help us defend Ukraine and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it could be. Here's the thing. You in a HBCU, I know me personally, when I'm around Black people, I let my guard down. I relax.
But that's actually
back. When I'm in hospital, right?
When I'm
exactly. So yeah, it's very true that if you send a young Black person to tell them, because I went to a school that was 98% Black. It doesn't qualify as a HBCU because it doesn't check all the boxes. But when I was at CSU, and Chicago State University. And they were teaching me about Woodrow Wilson in the political science department, about how wonderful and great Woodrow Wilson is. But when I was taking classes at Brooklyn College that was predominantly white, Little Red Schoolhouse, I was getting Marxist instruction. They were teaching me, it was radical academic inquiries, at the white school. So as an African thinker, you have to get it where it comes from. We need to send Black youth off to school already ideologically grounded.
Yeah,
that's what we need to do. And if they're ideologically grounded when they leave our communities, when they leave our homes, I think we have a better chance of them getting the most out of their formal education.
Right.
Than if we depend on these institutions to enlighten them. That the schools need to train our youth, but the community needs to educate our youth.
Right. Please, everybody, go to imixwhatilike.org and participate in this project. If you have any HBCU experience, please go participate in this project. Sorry, Geechee. Thank you.
No, I'm just saying they can identify psychic violence more so than maybe emotional or microaggressions that they're gonna receive at PWI. But I think even that's just to suggest that that's what's going to happen, because I'm pretty sure that Black student unions and bigger Black populations at PWIs give you some of the same kind of experiences, and a lot of times the schools are not too far from each other, so it's not like you're really missing out on the culture of Black students. But I mean, I guess I think
so. Sorry, go ahead.
I guess I think in a sense like with Howard, I feel like it's like pretty much hush money, and it's like a double down on justifying why they're gonna spend so much money to Ukraine. Because look, we gave these people $90 million, and the whole concept is like literally that article I saw, like the dude talked about Ukraine maybe like 5 times in the article, and how to prepare the Black students to help them defend folks like the Ukraine. So like I guess the geopolitics and the psychic violence that they receive is in essence could be worse.
The only thing, what's Black about these historically Black universities and colleges? Where does the Black? We understand how universities and colleges work. We understand history and we understand what historical means.
Black
But
aesthetics.
that black part, exactly. What is exactly black about
But see, that's the
these
thing, though.
institutions?
I don't. So this is where I give a little more room for the young folks that Diallo doesn't have a lot of patience or compassion for. Their parents are, again, the reason I titled that project "Not a Different World" is because I'm pointing to the fact that there is a massive propaganda campaign. You talk about the psychic violence. This part of the psychic violence is assaulting Black people from birth, telling them that HBCUs are their salvation, that this is where you should go to have, even if you've grown up in Blackness. A lot of my students have been encouraged by their parents from the blackest of blackest communities to go to Morgan or other HBCUs because that's where the mythology tells them is their fantasy experience. Look at all of and I haven't done work on this yet, but I have on the many lists of projects that I will probably never complete is one to look specifically at the messaging around HBCUs. Even when I've come back in BWI Airport, they got those massive displays with beautiful Black people, in some lab or doing, encouraging, saying like, this is where you find yourself, all this other. And then usually they're promoting some form of fraternity, sorority, the marching band, the step show, everybody having a good time with other Black people. I think it's a massive inducement. And then when they end up there, particularly if you end up working there, there's a whole other experience that you're confronted with. So anyway, thank you, S. Barros, for your unconditional show of love. Didn't have a comment, didn't have a question, just unconditionally dropping that change in the bucket, making Kamau Bank-Lin as happy as he could be. You know what I'm saying? So thanks to you for your support. We appreciate you.
So just a few minutes ago, what y'all was talking about, it reminded me of the time that we was on, the think tank was on Dr. Mayat's show, and she got mad at the South and like deleted him off of the camera because she started advocating for, I got the video too. She started advocating because, I'm getting my Black students entrepreneurial opportunities to get in the defense industry, and they can sell directly to Northrop Grumman. Like, and he was like, "Why do we need more people in the defense industry?" And like, she like kind of blocked him, took him off of the camera.
Oh my God! Wow.
But like that was the thing. Though, it's like he's celebrating like, we can sell missiles to, we can help design and sell missiles.
I would also I would also slightly disagree with Diallo the way you framed it just a minute ago. Like when you were saying we know what universities are, we understand. I don't think we do, and that's part of my point. Like Black people in general, probably more than anybody at this point, are propagandized that to catch up and close the fantasy gap of the racial wealth divide. To close these divides, you have to go to college. You have to go.
I'm not disputing that.
No. So I'm just saying, but I'm saying is I don't think, and this is what I think is indicative in the EdReed, Dion. I don't think people truly understand the political economy of universities, of HBCUs in particular. So they don't understand what they're getting into and have these expectations of class fantasies, of whatever, of social fantasies that don't exist.
I'm not saying, I'm saying just in general. I'm not talking about the in-depth administrative issues related or funding issues or curricular issues. I'm saying most Black folks know what college and universities are. If it's for no other reasons, then I got brother. I have an older brother who never went to college, but he knows knows more about the schools than I do because he follows college sports. He follows college basketball and college football. And he knows more about what's going on with the various schools and where the various prospects are going into the schools or going to the pros. So we know what that is. So I'm just saying we haven't really defined what Black is. I remember they had the first Black Film Festival of Kansas City. And I asked the organizer, what classifies a Black film? Does it have to have a Black writer, Black director, Black cast, Black production company? I'm like, what qualifies a black film as a black film? And pretty much he concluded that if the cast is predominantly black, then it's a black film. So Coming to America, which is white folks writing, white folks production, white folks broadcast, all white, but just black cast or a black theme makes it a black film. So I think we need to be careful about shit we're allowing to, if until the rest of y'all catch up with me and be just human.
How dare you?
Until that time,
Coming to America.
Until that time. Did you see the second Coming to America?
I did. Of course I did.
Now that was a black production, black studio. Oh my God.
I will not have it. I will Dr. Ma'at you. I will Asafo you off of this screen if you continue to talk trash about. No, first of all, ZZ Lion Dad, thanks for the super chat. E. Franklin Frazier's book continues to resonate.
Yeah, I got it right
here. And
I keep that book on deck until I get my first million. I'm gonna stay on
until
these
you become
black elites until I join them.
Right, I hear you. I'm
gonna stay on their neck.
No, in all honesty, I love
until they cut the check.
as a consumer, I love Coming to America as a film, but I recognize the contradiction, and everything you're saying is correct. And the second one was not even enjoyable on a surface level. It was, I think, abusive psychologically. But I also, by the way, want to add to the list. I've started watching, and since I'm punishing myself, we will have to share a discussion here about the new Hulu series on 1619 Project. I've watched the first 2 episodes, and you mentioned Oprah and her negative impact. It resonates here because this is another Harpo Productions monstrosity. Overlapping with a Howard University professor who I didn't know that Nicole Hannah is it Jones? What Jones? I didn't know she was mixed. That came up in the series. I didn't know that.
So what?
Her mom's white, father's black, and
I'm mixed too. I'm mixed.
Oh yeah. In what way? African with African.
No, my mama black and my daddy real black.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Well, I'm not mixed. I'm human. 2 humans came together.
That's right. That's correct. Me too. I'm just
trying to apply the principalities here.
I'm just a human, but anyway. So
everybody
don't have to do it today. But if you all want to start watching it, we can talk more substantively about it. It's a mess. I mean, it's just that simple. It's a very Oprah production.
I've been seeing it get promotions for it, but I'm saying, what is black about HBCUs? Is the agenda black? Is the ideology? Is the curriculum? Does the blackness go beyond the pigmentation and the phenotype of the student of the student body? What is black about HBCUs?
Aesthetic.
Well, the mission is black. The mission is and has always been black, and that is to construct a particular performance of among black people that is acceptable to the state. So
what is that performance?
No, I'm not saying it's for black people, but it is. But it is black in that it is a particularly black styled and targeted. We're really saying the same thing. I'm just trying to say it differently for a particular reason.
That's my issue. That's my issue. That's all, because HBCUs,
it's black in the way Tyler Perry films are black.
Coexisted with slavery. HBCUs coexisted with slavery. HBCUs coexisted with Jim Crow. HBCUs are not a threat to the systems and institutions of white hegemony and capitalism. HBCUs have found very comfortable niches to coexist alongside white domination and grand injustices. They coexist with that. They are not, Dr. Bobby Wright said in most countries, when there's a revolution or a threat of a revolution, the first thing they do is close down the universities. He said, but in the US, when there's a threat of a black uprising, what they do is open up the schools. Because Bobby Wright recognized as a teacher himself, that education for Black people within the United States has not been a radicalizing institution, but a pacifying institution. And I know, Matt, I know many of my friends and a few of my relatives have gone to HBCUs. And for the few of them that have some level of consciousness or radicalism, it's in spite of, not because they went to an HBCU.
No, that's exactly right. And McYagermeister's point is correct. The history of industrial education is just that. And that's what we see happening, broadly speaking. That's what we see happening at the HBCUs. My only issue is, and this is why I want to continue to invite people to participate in this HBCU Not a Different World project at imixwhatilike.org, is because the promotion, the marketing, the promise is very different. It's enticing and invites people to feel differently about those spaces and expect something different when they get there, as a way of recruitment and as a way of marketing, so on and so forth, which is why Morgan can more or less pat itself on the back when 6-year undergraduate graduation rates slowly cross into the 30 percentile. In other words, Morgan still, after 6 years, does not graduate even 40%. I don't even think it's 35 at this point, but it doesn't even graduate that much more of the people who come there. So the marketing is to just get another crop of 6-year investment in there. Whether you get a degree is irrelevant. It's just 6 more years of funding and promotion. And by the time you realize what it is, it's too late. You're out and you're being replaced by a new group of students who have themselves been propagandized into that expectation. So that's the only thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say something else I shouldn't say. We can throw the African Center schools on that same bonfire.
Oh Lord.
And
I don't,
so, but
we'd have to, I'd have to,
we can throw the African Centered Schools. That Molefi Asante is an African Centered School proprietor. He runs and is contracted to run and oversee African Centered Schools all over the country.
I would just want to, I hear you. I just would want us to be a little more specific, but I think, I don't know, man. Maybe go ahead, man. But thank you, Denzel, as well. Diallo is correct. Someone has told me, a freshman at Morehouse, if you're not careful, you'll leave knowing how to be more white than white men. And
thus is the purpose. Cast down your pale. You know, I mean, these schools are still on some cash. These are institutions born out of slavery and Jim Crow. And I think we will see, when we become powerful as a people, we will render such institutions obsolete.
So when the people at Howard says students who graduate from the HBCUs are the power that our country needs, what are they saying in a nutshell, Diallo?
They are, well, I just think that's empty rhetoric. I know, you know, just talking to my friends who have graduated from HBCUs, the ones who haven't cut me off, because I criticize HBCUs. You know, I hate on HBCUs aggressively, almost as aggressively as I hate on churches. And I tend to hate on things that have impact and power within our community. You know, people ask me, oh, why don't you talk about Trump? Because the vast majority of the Black community hates Trump. So I don't need to join that. I mean, try to turn our critical eye towards things that we tend to allow to escape criticisms. Our heroes and sacred cows.
EdReed did worse than Trump, if you want to be 100. When Trump,
damn.
When he was started talking about, like,
I didn't say that.
And whatever. I'm just saying what he did at the moment. He went there on live video saying, look at this shit. It's trash. These motherfuckers and this. Like, Trump ain't did that. Trump just said some shit about the place. He ain't been there. He ain't walking around
shithole colleges.
Shithole colleges.
EdReed literally went there, went live, and said, I shouldn't leave this motherfucker. I should leave here. But I ain't gonna leave though. I ain't gonna leave, but they gonna ask you to leave though. And they did. It's time for you to go.
Speaking of HBCUs and leadership, I do have actually a specific request of folks in our audience, and we today, and who will see this later. So I've mentioned this Freedom Scholar Award, and I'm happy to talk more about the contradictions and whatever jokes people want to make. But I have a specific request. I retweeted the other day the announcement and tagged my university, the provost and the president of the university. It's now pinned to my Twitter page. If everybody who has a Twitter account who sees this would please go and like and retweet that tweet, I would greatly appreciate it. If for no other reason that that there is some, I would like to advance the messaging, to message force multiply, as they say, so that folks will at the university be more, I think, encouraged to recognize what they are apparently interested in ignoring. Although, as I mentioned the other day, shout out to the president who did respond. Oh, didn't I have it on this one? Anyway, I saved it. The president did respond and confirmed. There it is. The president of the university. This is what I want for our students, as well as I try to challenge them daily to think this way. Congratulations, Professor Ball. You're the best freedom scholar on the planet. All right. You see that, right? Diallo, are you paying attention?
Yeah, I agree with him.
I want you to specifically the best.
I mean, you're mad when you gonna be mad when he had the same tweet. He got the same tweet on the next comment.
Exactly, he probably does. By the way, and shout out to Quaker Socialist, who is our strongest supporter on Twitter. But yeah, anyway, please, if you would go to what is my pinned tweet. I don't think I've ever asked this before, but I am requesting that people specifically go out there and hit that like and retweet and help me message force multiply this joint, because there is this ongoing tension that I have with the university, with admin over the years, including over pay and treatment and all kinds of stuff. So all of this. So by the way, that's also why, even with my criticism of Carr and everyone and others as well, that there is a politics to platforming. So even if you're critical of something, the fact that you give room for it to be discussed is helpful. Mentioning people, citing people, there's a politics to that can be helpful, even if it's in an honest assessment and critique. So the omission, the rebranding, the denial, the all of that is what is I think unfortunate, unfair, and damaging, and could, so that's why. Anyway, so thank you all very much in advance. I appreciate that. And anyway, so
and I got a trick. I got to trick black people.
Uh-oh.
If you want white folks to throw money and to build up the black institutions, only thing black people have to do is start ignoring them and reduce their relevance and importance to us. And I swear to you, they will spare no expense to get us refocused and reoriented towards that. I promise you. It's just,
but I think but that's part of what I'm saying about the propaganda and the messaging. That's what it's there for. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that's it. I think they want these schools to have, like I said, motivatement ain't expensive. It ain't hard to do. That is subtle psychological and sociological warfare. That is really training people to accept the status quo. Because that in that type of allowing those conditions to create it. But if you look, the even Harvard and Yale has a lot of these same issues with corroding infrastructures, even with the billions of dollars. Just because the money come through doesn't mean the money gets allocated properly.
That's right. Oh, that's exactly right.
Just because that money come through does not mean the money gets allocated properly. I remember when I was at school at Downstate, and they got all this money to enhance the campus. And instead of enhancing the campus, they spent money putting hidden cameras and surveillance all around, because that was right at the cusp of the opioid epidemics. And this was a medical school and allied health professional schools. So these students had access to drugs, and they had ODs all over the campus. And so the funds for enhancing the campus all went to secret surveillance. And then the instructors that in the class be like, listen, guys, there's cameras everywhere, and I don't want to get in trouble or lose my job, but you guys got to, go get high off campus.
Diallo, I had one of
my
I had a conversation with a former, this person's no longer at the university, high-ranking official, very, 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 very high-ranking admin, who told me, quote, there is a cavernous black hole into which millions of dollars disappear every year, and I don't know where it goes. And this person was an extremely high-ranking official at the administration. So there is all kinds of money flowing around there. The Bezos ex-wife 40 million that Morgan got. There's all kinds of stuff floating around there, but almost all of it gets put into STEM. All of it goes to even sometimes creating new admin positions, multiple six-figure salary positions, or building some new building or facility that doesn't specifically enhance the experience of students and specifically does not help with the experience of teaching, because again, none of this money is reducing the teaching load of the faculty. So by definition, you're reducing the quality of the education and the experience for everybody with all these teaching. But anyway, so that's right on, and thank you, Liberated Muse, for the $1.99.
I have to go back to Bobby E. Wright. He said white folks didn't give us good food. They didn't give us adequate shelter. They gave us tattered clothing, and why would we think they give us acceptable schools? He said the only good thing they gave us an abundance of in high quality was religion. That's it. He said they gave us the best religion we could ask for, but everything else is going to come tainted and subpar. I mean, in 2023 to be having this, we've had millions of black people come out of these HBCUs. My bottom line is, even if they were adequately funded, even if they had the best stadiums and all the best black athletes went to these schools, and even if, they had facilities that were equal to or beyond what white students have, could we say there would be a material change in our condition, in our level, in the status quo, our position in the hierarchy? Could we really say that if we got more of what these institutions have been giving us since slavery? I say HBCUs coexisted with slavery. HBCUs coexisted with Jim Crow quite comfortably. Can we say that would enhance our collective position? And if not, why should we who don't attend those schools or outside of that elite, or as Jay-Z called rarefied air, why should we even invest or give a damn?
No, that's why we have to support each other, because white folks got Kamau out on the corner like this. So we gotta.
I was trying to remember this dude at Morgan, Jerome. Is this his name, Jerome? I met somebody, and he was cut from Amos Wilson cloth. You ever heard of that guy, Jerome? How you pronounce that? Shilly? I put it in the chat.
He was a faculty member?
I think he's still there.
You told me, is this the video you wanted us to play? Or what
No. That video was a Safo.
Oh.
When we was on the show talking about your book, that was a video of a Safo.
Oh, we could definitely. 1 hour 26. Yeah, we could play that whatever you all want. I'm good with that. Oh, right at the very end. Okay.
Yeah.
And I do have one. There's one other. What was this? I don't know who this professor is though. Okay. Jerome Shield. I don't know who that is. But what about him?
No, I remember one time I saw something he wrote, and it was like similar to Dr. Amos. And I remember meeting him, because at that time I thought he was with the shits, but I don't.
Oh, he co-wrote with or he's got a book under contract with Jeff Menzies, who I know, the Afrocentric Paradigm, Human Services and the Afrocentric Paradigm, 2nd edition. Okay, so that's on its way.
I was wondering if you knew him, but I guess not.
I don't. And I mean, part of I'm sure part of it is my fault, but again, I honestly do blame the teaching load and the advising load and all the other service load that faculty are encouraged. We don't have time. I don't like Morgan. I have not found Morgan to be what I used to fantasize would be the academic experience. There's, I used to, when I would see, again, even at Frostburg, when I would see faculty hanging out and talking and building and spending time with each other and with students, whatever, I thought like that's what I thought I would see more of. But I felt in my time at Morgan that I've never had time to really build with people like that. It's hard to fill any free moment with building and meeting other faculty when you don't have a lot of free moments, and then you're encouraged to use those free moments. You still got to produce. So they're still saying you got to publish, you still got to do this, you still got to do that. And it's like, well, in fact, what's my man's name that played Venus Flytrap on WKRP, the actor?
Oh, I don't remember his name. I know
what's his name? Because he was a colleague of mine for a brief minute at Morgan, and we had words over this exact issue. We were leaving a faculty meeting where he ended up defending the administration in the faculty meeting. And Tim Reed. And on the way out, I after having already previously told him when we first met, I was like, I did the whole fan thing. I'm like, I really appreciate you. Like, it's good to see, congratulations. Good to have you join our faculty. Quickly realized he had a very special situation relationship and did not get the actual HBCU faculty experience because of his celebrity. And this is so when we were leaving that meeting, I said to him, just so you're aware, I wanted you to have some context as to why I said what I said. And I want you to understand why what you said is not helpful to those of us who have actually been here and understand the situation. And the crux of his argument was basically faculty. Well, part of his argument was faculty don't support each other. And he started going into this thing about how, by the way, after not supporting me and other faculty in that meeting, but anyway, but his whole thing was, the students, aren't good and the faculty don't support each other and this and that. And I was trying to explain to him, I was saying, so the nature of my comment in that meeting that you sort of ignorantly chimed in on, because you're new, you don't know the situation, and you have a very special cushy setup that no other faculty have. So I was saying, you don't understand the situation here. And part of the context is that faculty don't have time. Because he was saying, when I was at this white university and I gave a presentation, everybody showed up. But when I gave a presentation here, nobody was there. No faculty was there. No students were there. And I said, so I was trying to say, first of all, we don't have time to go. We don't have the salaries.
Leisure.
We don't have the leisure. Haven't earned our leisure.
Haven't earned.
Or our liberation, for that matter.
Y'all hadn't done enough work to set yourselves free. You got to do more work. Work will free you.
I read some stuff that said like how they pretty much blame black colleges for the way in which they spend their money. They have money, but they miss spending money, and they highlight that Morgan spent millions of dollars on unused hotel rooms. So if y'all stop spending all that money on unused hotel rooms,
I have to go back to
I thought they were all being used because they overbooked the university and they've had to use the rooms for students to be in.
They did, but there's still $1 million of unused hotel rooms still.
But from a radical perspective, let's say the HBCUs are all fully funded and appropriately administered. Would that advance the interest of African people?
No.
I think we're fighting. This is another, being directed by deficits. We want to improve these schools. We want to make these schools on PWIs. But we have yet to evaluate what has been, they call historical is in the name. What has been the historical impact of these institutions on the collective black?
I got your answer.
They created a black bourgeoisie that they want to join.
Exactly.
No, I got a better answer.
Here's the thing we should be debating.
Thank you,
Here's the thing we should be debating. We should be saying, I would love to sit here and say, listen, HBCUs have failed at liberating Black people. They have failed at their mission. But that would be extremely exactly. So we can't even sit here and discuss HBCUs failing at their mission, because the truth is they have succeeded at their mission. We have misunderstood and misdefined the purpose, mission of the HBCUs. Everybody, HBCUs this, HBCUs are doing what they're supposed to do, what they were established by white people to do. So correct. It is better to fail at liberation than succeed at submission. It is better to fail at liberation. I wish we were sitting here having a discussion that these schools have failed in their objectives, in their goals to ideologically orient Black people towards Black liberation, Black power, and oppositions to the systems and institutions of oppression, whether it is the colonial condition of the African continent or the subjugated conditions of the African diaspora. They have sent hordes of students out here to transform the Black condition and thus the world, but they have given them the wrong techniques or outdated methods and plans. But we can't even have that discussion. The reality is HBCUs are a success.
But listen, the HBCUs produce,
and that's why they're still here.
They produce Pinky Cole, Megan Thee Stallion and her knees, and Kamala Harris. What have you done?
That's a good question, Diallo.
I'm the Grinch. I just sit aside and hate, and that's all I do.
But you don't got Megan. You ain't got Megan Thee Stallion knees though.
That's why it's coming back.
I got good knees. Y'all don't want.
You don't got Megan Thee Stallion knees though.
I got good knees because I wasn't raised chasing balls every damn day. So my cartilage is intact. My synovial fluid is flowing through my joints.
Hey, as we continue here on,
it's Blackfish Fridays.
I do have.
So my comrade just text me. He said he don't understand the problem with STEM. So what's your problem with STEM? Because I don't think
it's easy. So it's easy, and even though he disagrees with what is with me and on how to interpret what's in his own book, in Jelani Favor's book on the history of HBCUs, he has a section in there where he cites the research of this sister whose name I keep forgetting, that shows that since the 1970s and the height of the Black Power era, HBCUs have been targeted specifically with a defunding over time of liberal arts and a movement of funding over to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, with the explicit understanding or belief at least that in those areas you're less likely to produce critical consciousness, critical thinking, radical thought, so on and so forth, and that you get people focused on specific scientific formulas that are not put in proper context, blah, 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 and therefore explained in some sort of, so that's at least that is how I interpret that part of his book. And I believe that in light with some other arguments and evidence that we could bring up is what is the concern for me. So it's also because there's a more direct relationship to the military industrial complex, to cybersecurity, to the state in those fields. They can more easily, there's no pipeline from Black studies into Raytheon per se. There's no pipeline from, there shouldn't be, and I don't think there's one is readily made, at least, from these critical areas of liberal arts where you're more likely to develop a critical consciousness. There's not that kind of direct pipeline. At least that's the thought process. That's what I think.
Well, yeah. When you look
you're about to get into that video, when you play that video, you're gonna get into some of that. But go ahead, Diallo.
Go back.
Which video?
Diallo. I mean, with Asafo and Dr. Maya.
Oh, I'm ready whenever you all are. I'm ready whenever you are.
If you go back, if you want to know the importance and impact of STEM, if you go look at the movie Schindler's List, when they had the Jewish architecture correcting the German Nazi architect on construction of the gas chambers and the housing at Auschwitz. So they took her scientific architectural expertise into advisement and carried out her
and they shot
plans,
the historian,
and then they took her to the back and shot her. They shot the
historian out the gate, though. Remember that?
Yeah.
Though.
But I mean, what are you going to do with history?
I'm a historian. Damn.
This is what STEM. If you do not have ethics, because I've taken this, I worked in the STEM field. and for 13 years. And if you remove, and one of the biggest parts of that STEM education was ethics, medical ethics. I had to take 2 years of medical ethics. So if you remove the philosophical components, ethical components, and even the artistic components that allows you to apply imagination and greater vision to concrete scientific formulas and principles, you are going to become an automaton. You are going to become a robot. And that is why when you look at every single elite school, the schools that Bill Gates' children attend, none of them are STEM exclusive schools. They are all liberal arts. So they understand everything from statecraft to art and music appreciation to artistic development and
they're
other
there to
outlets.
rule. Yeah.
Because that is to rule. If you are STEM and you are strictly focusing on the technological component or the scientific component of a field or of a job or of yourself, of your own skills, you will become a part of the machine. And I used to think that all the time when I worked as a radiographer, like they treat us like we're extensions of the machine, which is a very dehumanizing aspect, even if you get paid well.
Let me go back to the other part of my favorite quote from another one of those admin conversations that I had some years ago. Quote, we don't teach, no, quote, I am a theoretical physicist. We do not teach theoretical physics here at Morgan. We teach our students to run the machines for theoretical physicists, end quote. So
that's what they were saying in the Marx book, like you can't separate technology from ideology.
Right.
No, and there's a great book by a brother named Bruce Cosby, a little book about the history of technology and African people that I think I got to find again. It is such a great Bruce Cosby. And it just basically makes the point, technology oppresses, it don't free you. And this is the African relationship to European developed technology over time. It's a fascinating argument, and I generally agree with it.
Go to the clip real quick, then.
All right, yeah, but thanks, ZZ Lion Dad, HBCUs at Booker T. Washington, money, supported missionaries, capitalism, philanthropy, piety, thrift, and respectability.
ZZ got 5 on it.
Got 5 on it. Appreciate you. So here, let's check out this clip. Rest in power to Brother Asafo.
Monica in the chat when I was talking about my students, and I said, yeah, so what I was saying, and I want to clarify my statements, because you were saying, oh, something about, Black people building companies to compete with defense contractors. What I want my students to know is that that's not their only option, isn't to graduate with an electrical engineering degree and go work for Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, NSA, CIA. I have friends who are defense contractors who work as contractors because what they did was they went to Lockheed Martin, they went to Northrop Grumman, and they figured the game out. They said, hold up, wait a minute. So you're paying me $40 an hour for a project that you're billing $300 an hour for. Well, what I'll do is just become my own contractor and bid on some of these contracts.
Oh my God.
Look at your brother's face.
I said,
I love
have
it.
several friends. So this is not something I'm just making
Putting his
up.
hand up. Hand up.
And have started their own engineering consultant businesses, and they make $300,000 a year. So I don't want my students, hold on, wait a minute, Asafo.
Yeah.
I don't want my students to think that their only option is to get a degree, an engineering degree, and go work for Lockheed Martin. That's the only thing that they can do. I don't tell my students that.
So get an engineering degree and start a business that you hire yourself out to Lockheed
Go
Martin.
be a contractor.
Okay.
If you want to own your business and be engineering consultant, don't limit yourself. You don't have to limit yourself. Go ahead, Brother Asafo.
I don't want to be the last word on this, but I'll just say, and this is what we said in our, this actually came up in our discussion the other night. And I'll only say, this is the fundamental problem with capitalism, whether it be white or Black. Do we really need more, weapons manufacturers or weapons or defense contractors, Black or white? Were you talking about the military industrial complex and the weapons and the weapons delivery systems and all these other things that America has used to subjugate the third and fourth worlds and other darker people around the world. Do we really need to be having this discussion about, hey, maybe one day you can be, you know, the one delivering the deadly nuclear missile to the Black city?
That's not what we're talking about at Morgan State University, sir. That's so out of what we're talking about. We're not saying that. So I hope that you didn't
that was quite, I mean, what, so this is what I'm gaining from that. Are you talking about Black
for 300,000 a year
Black participation in the military industrial complex when you said
that? No. What I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this, because electrical engineers do all sorts of stuff, brother Safo. And so I don't think I need to have, I don't want to give a lecture on electrical engineering, what it is and all of the different fields that we could go into. But it's not just about nuclear bombs when you're talking about electrical engineering. So I'll just leave it as that, okay? It's not just about missiles and dropping bombs when we're talking about electrical engineering. There are a variety of fields in electrical engineering. Some people go into
Lockheed Martin.
Let me finish talking. Some people go into
because you said that to me. That was perfect timing.
Some people talk about material science. I mean, I brought up defense contractors. That's one example, brother Asafo. Literally, that's just one example. You have some people going into cybersecurity. You know, some people are going into language processing, signal and systems and things of that nature. And so I don't want to have this conversation because then I will begin to start talking over your head, and I don't want to do that. All right? Okay. I don't want to do that. So all right, family. Thank you so much for all right. So anyway, thank you so much, family, for listening to the discussion.
You can end it, but then she
damn.
Then she started I think she stayed in the background, and then what's the dude from Baltimore who used to what's his damn name? The bald head dude who be with he be debating, it'd be him, Dr. Mayat, I can't remember his name. Professor Unk or something like that. He from Baltimore. He used to be a street dude, and now he a conscious dude. But
yeah. Wow. That's wow. So first of all, I even remember even in boot camp they were talking about it's one of the highest levels of security initially that you could go for coming out of boot camp was to do that signal semaphore stuff, all that communicative stuff that the Navy was doing. So like all the signal work, all of the, what does she think that all of that stuff is for in the context of working for Lockheed Martin? So what does she say, that if you don't build a bomb, but you help put the, I don't know, the internet service together, that you're somehow undermining?
She quoted you and your book.
Your book. Listen, we was talking about your book the whole time, and ironically, after we talk about your book,
so and this is one of your students, Dr. Ball. she's building on your teachings.
Yo, have Boyce on the next week, and brought Boyce.
Don't try to distance yourself. That is
no God.
That is a product of your scholarship right there.
She understands.
What is we doing?
She understood the assignment.
Yeah, man. See that Meg Stallion, HBCU.
This is what you turning in.
So listen, in the last 30 minutes or so, let me at least raise something that I would like to encourage of my comrades here on Earn Your Liberation and anyone else that would want to join this. So over the last couple days, since I've been revisiting this African-centered versus Marxist argument, I've been getting a lot of emails. So some of them actually very helpful. And one of them sent me some work that I had actually never read, that came out in 2015 by Stephen Ferguson, someone who I do know at least a little bit, who once upon a time wrote a critique of I Mix What I Like and invited me to discuss his critique with his class. So I've always appreciated that. He had a Marxist critique, saying that my work was too African-centered, which is always kind of funny to me because most African-centered folks think the opposite. But what he did, he's written a book in 2015 called The Philosophy of African American Studies. And he has a chapter in there. Chapter 4 focuses on Yurugu, MarimbaAni's Yurugu. And I started a text discussion with a good friend of mine chapter 3, sorry, is his chapter on Yurugu. And I think there's an argument to be had here. So I've reached out to him. I'd like to invite him on, but I'm interested in others reading at least this chapter because it raises some very interesting and I think legit concerns about Ani's work. And the general approach of African-centered scholarship as they address themselves to some of these histories. And I think that it would be of great value. A good friend of mine does not agree with me on this. And so I don't know, but what I'll stop here by at least saying what I appreciate about Ferguson is that he at least read her work. And I found that a lot of materialists don't read African-centered work. I feel the opposite is definitely true as well. But he at least read the work, gave it a serious review. He thoroughly disagrees with her, but I at least appreciate that he did that. And I think there's a lot of value in what his argument is and the questions he raises about her methodology and how we address ourselves to all of this. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know we don't have, we're not situated to really get into it right now, but I at least wanted to mention that and maybe preface something to happen later on. Yeah, go ahead.
He disagreed with some of her frameworks about the Utamawazo, Sealy. Or
all of that. Yeah. Damn. I mean, first of all, he's a Marxist. So he's already saying like, I'm coming out of the strict materialist camp. So he disagrees with her on essentializing African thought, her method in terms of how she goes about critiquing European thought. He actually says that at one point he says that she gets Plato so wrong that she actually demonstrates how she and Plato are making the exact same argument. Now, I don't know that he's right. I'm just saying he's making enough of a very compelling argument. He also, by the way, says that she, even in the context of African-centered thought, she departs from people like Diop and Stolen Legacy, my man James, who wrote Stolen Legacy, and a couple of others who acknowledge in their work, for instance, that Plato's Eurocentricity or Plato's European thought is a complete copy and taken entirely from maintaining even the core concepts of what he learned in Egypt. Yeah. Ani says that because Plato is considered the foundation of Western thought, she uses him to show how he breaks from African thought. And in creating this bifurcation between African and European thought, Ferguson argues that she actually goes back and produces a Eurocentric critique of her own wing of thought. So I'm just saying I love the intellectual exercise, if for no other reason. He dealt with her work, he read her work, he's competent to deal with what she's critiquing. It was fascinating. So I don't know.
He's saying it's the African-centered Platonic critique to Yurugu's. So he's saying that her book proves that she is actually using Platonic thought to critique the Europeans.
I think that's one way. Yeah, he's saying maybe not a Platonic thought, but saying that she's giving a Eurocentric analysis of African thought and of everything. By separating, in other words, by denying the continuity that Diop and others say exists between Plato and European thought and what they got from Africa, by denying that and saying that didn't happen, and that she contradicts herself is what he's saying. Because he's saying you're on the one hand saying Plato took from Africa, but then somehow separated what he learned from Africa, reflipped it into something European that is entirely separate from African thought, and created a Western world view that is an ongoing problem. The only thing that I don't see Ferguson and I would want to ask him about, there's one thing he does in there that I think methodologically doesn't prove his point about what he says of Ani. But the real question I want to ask is, the one thing I don't see Ferguson address and respond to is that, yes, there may be differences in European thought. Yes, Ani may have misread or misinterpreted various trends in European thought, and she may have over-essentialized it. But the one thing that she, I think, is correct on, if nothing else, is that when Europeans address themselves to the world majority population, there seems to be a great unanimity. So in other words, if there's a difference between Plato and what emerged in Germany and England and France and Spain and Portugal and whatever. I would like to have seen Ferguson deal with it, and maybe he does elsewhere in the book. I'm only dealing with this one chapter. I would like to see him address himself to say, because part of what I need, if I remember correctly, part of what that argument is that when Europeans deal with us, it's all the same. They end up addressing themselves in more or less exactly the same way. And I would have liked to see him respond to that point. But anyway,
that sounds like a debate that Diallo and MarimbaAni is gonna have with him and Malefe Asante.
No, with all due respect, and I actually even what I think I understand and even appreciate about her point or her perspective, and I don't have direct authority on this, but I think what is going on is that Ani wouldn't come here anyway. She wouldn't come here, period, and she wouldn't debate him on this at all. So
hey, look,
I don't think we're going to see that, but yeah, go ahead.
Why wouldn't she? I
think, again, I'm interpreting things. We've met. I appreciate her. There are people that I know are very close with her. So I may be wrong here. I'm just guessing, but or projecting. What I think it is because I'm perceived as having too much of a connection to Eurocentric thought. That it wouldn't be. This wouldn't. And she's not debating people. So, and I don't blame her for that either. Although I think it would be great if she did. I do understand why she doesn't. But so even if I would love to have her come here and correct me, challenge, whatever, she's not interested in that. And I get it. And I'm not even mad at that. But that's what I think.
Diallo can defend Yurugu. And it'll be him against.
I don't think you.
And this is false. So this is false, though. Tide 313. I'm not European biased. That's a complete misreading of that's unfortunate. But anyway, go ahead. It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think Yurugu needs defending. I wouldn't even put myself in a position. I think there are some issues to be had, but it is a critique. It is an analysis. You know, it's not a. And there are some very strong analysis, and the whole foundations where she's talking about plutonic thought. She acknowledges that has evolved, and that there has been cross-pollination and engagements between Asia, Africa, and all that, especially in that region. But we all know, and we're all byproducts of Yurugu. We are living in the world that Yurugu created, and so in her assessments about their motivations, their thoughts, their worldview, their asili, where they come from, and how they where they started to get to where the world is today, it stands on its own. I mean, besides, messing around at the periphery and chomping at the periphery and the certain disagreements on certain minor assertions about what Pluto's influence is coming from, the influences and impacts that he had on himself, or the larger thing. Man, and look at the world as it is today. Look at the world. Oh,
that's his name, Pluto. Platonic.
I love it.
No, she says platonic.
No, I know platonic and Plato, but you called him Pluto, and I just think that's funny. I don't care.
But the platonic, platonic philosophy, because most white folks don't know who the hell. They don't know the Aristotle's, Plato, Socrates. They don't know that shit. It is somehow but they live it out. They carry it out. They embody it for generations across many continents in many different environments.
But so just to be clear, so even when it was being just said that I'm European biased in terms of Afro criticism, I actually don't think that's my argument. My bias is I do like Marx's work, but my real bias though is that I like what African people have done with Marx's work, and my challenge even to my buddy was, is I don't want us to dismiss work that keeps producing so much radical revolutionary action and effect. So that's one thing. In terms of what Ferguson has done, I must say I like if the goal, and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. If the goal is Black liberation, if the goal is genuine revolution for the world, I love the idea that even MarimbaAni could be given a serious reading and critique. This is not some, I read a phrase and I'm dissing her. I'm not, he takes his shots, but it's a clear, he's given her a reading that I don't even think a lot of her supporters have read. In other words, I don't think a lot of her supporters have read with this level of care and critique and investigation. And I think that's ultimately a good thing, even if he disagrees with her, and even if I or we were to disagree with him. I think we need to be able to say a book that was written, with all due respect, in 1994, we can't say that nothing cannot be, revisited or expanded upon or even critiqued. So, but ultimately, I just really like that he actually read the work. So if, and that's what I've ultimately been asking of those in the African-centered community who want to dismiss Marx. If you don't want to read Marx, at least give a deep dive analysis of those Africans who picked up Marx and did some of the nastiest stuff in the world.
I mean,
I appreciate and refer back to Yurugu quite a bit, and there's very in terms of the spirituality and things she wrote about, and Let the Circle Be Unbroken, and the mystical supernatural elements of it. I don't support or embrace any of that, and I think we
you don't support those works. Is that what you just said?
I don't support those components, the mystical, spiritual, supernatural components, man.
I see. I hear you.
I don't in any way support, but I don't like the debate Eurocentric thought. That's Eurocentric or African-centered thought in terms of people making, giving analysis or articulating their position, because I think we need to focus on whether it's accurate or inaccurate. I think we have to focus on whether it's relevant or irrelevant. If you can't tell me that I should reject something based on the merits of the argument, whether regardless of where it came from, I don't really want to hear it. And too many times I hear people say to me, "Oh, that's white, so do away with it," or "It's Black, so we're going to embrace it." I mean, there's a lot of nonsense coming from every direction. From every, part of the human thought.
I've come to experience that African-centered thought has not meant critical thought at all. Like
exactly.
All of the majority of the African-centered people that I've been around the last few years, it's more so of like knowing MarimbaAni or Jacob Carruthers or Baba Baruti, like knowing them and supporting their book. It's kind of like African-centered and buying Black are they had a kid, and that's it.
Wow.
By the way,
speaking of Baba Jacob,
here's what African-centered
is.
Mm-hmm. African-centered is not just a thought; it's an orientation to the world. Meaning that when the work you do is oriented to. But
it's centered on African-centered a class of African people.
But the class, you're not African-centered if your time, talent, and resources do not go to speak to the issues and interests and agendas of African people. And the issues, agendas, and African-centeredness and Afrocentricity can utilize any tools or any resources or any opportunities by all means necessary. So you can reach into to Chinese philosophy, Western critique materialism, or your local Walmart to go and get things that you need to speak to Afrocentricity, when it got locked up into this small thing of, I wear these type aesthetics, how you dress, how you greet people, African greetings, whether or not you are interested in learning Swahili. And that's not Afrocentricity. You got white folks doing that. You got Eurocentric Black people. Many of these Afrocentrics are actually Eurocentric because they engage Afrocentricity to get a better status and standing within the systems and institutions of white domination and capitalism. Many of these African-centered schools are nothing about getting a good GPA, learning how to read, learning how to do arithmetic, and learning how to follow the academic standards so that you can get into a good school, get a good job, earn enough money to enjoy the spoils of empire. That is not Afrocentricity, even though And I can tell you, so African-centered schools here, my son attended African-centered schools, and only thing they did was encourage and orient him towards achievement within the status quo. So African-centered means is nothing more than orienting our thought, our energies, our resources towards Black empowerment, liberation, and Black and overthrow of the enemies and exploiters
so, but that's
of
actually
African
become
people.
a problem with why that's become frustrating for me in terms of how, to your point, African-centered or Afrocentricity has been rebranded. Because, for instance, even though I've enjoyed this critique of Ani, MarimbaAni is not in the Asante African-centered camp. She wouldn't agree with your assessment of what an African-centered school is supposed to do. That's not what she's supporting. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there are different camps within all of these camps. And what I just keep fantasizing about is a more honest assessment of each other. So one thing that Ferguson does do in that article, in that chapter, is ask and then methodologically seek to critique, is MarimbaAni right when she says what she says about Plato? Is she right when she says what she says about African culture and when she interprets even the origin story of Yurugu? In fact, one thing that I would want to ask Ferguson about that I think he doesn't really do support properly in this chapter is he makes a claim saying that Ani gets her primary source on the Yurugu story is coming from a white scholar.
A white scholar on the Dogon Dogon mythology.
But what he doesn't show is where in her work does she demonstrate that she's getting this from this scholar. She cites that scholar, and he notes that she cites the scholar, but he doesn't like show through citation of her work or explaining her argument that she's taking whole cloth this scholar. In other words, the fact that she references a white scholar is not, to me, evidence that she's basing her analysis on that scholar. So I would like to have seen him take that added step. It's a compelling initial argument that I think he makes as part of his broader one, but I would like to have seen him, but my point is that I like that he did it, even if we don't ultimately agree, or maybe I do agree. And by the way, that Hulu 1619 thing is as anti-soda as possible. I think it is Oprah's indirect support for the reverse hashtag. Yeah, I do. Wow. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
Right now in Ethiopia, there are scientists and botanists and agriculturalists in Ethiopia right now who work for Monsanto, Cargill, and other mega U.S. food producing companies, learning African techniques for cultivating in harsh climates, in drought-stricken climates, on how to preserve and cultivate, in learning ancient African agricultural techniques to bring back to the United States because of the climate instability, the droughts in certain areas, on how to develop the U.S. and sustain U.S. corporate agriculture. And you would find no other, white scientists or white corporatists saying, "Oh, that's Afrocentric agriculture. You bring it over to our Eurocentric state." It's so absurd. Oh, you got information from a white scholar, or Afrocentricity ain't got shit to do with using exclusively Black scholars.
That's correct.
Black.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
And it's Black people out here, and Marimba, I've seen MarimbaAni debate. She debated Leonard Jeffries when the Afrocentric scholar Dr. Leonard Jeffries came out to endorse Obama.
When
2008, back in 2007.
She didn't debate him.
No, that didn't debate. That was you. Yeah, you was there.
They were all on the same thing, but they didn't debate. She presented anti-Obama. He came up there separately and said Obama represents the end of white supremacy and capitalism.
Yes, there was
that, goddamn.
Yes, yeah. And I contacted. After that, I contacted. It wasn't debate, but it was
because if you're saying that,
right.
If that was the case, she would be.
But a lot of so-called
and we got it all that I mix what I like, baby. We got the whole joint.
I had to reach out to Dr. Jeffries myself back then and be like, well, damn. And then I said to him after, 2-3 years of Obama administration, you're going to come out and make a public statement. about your endorsement. Do you still, I think you owe it to the community to come out and speak on Obama. Why you call it the Obama debate collective?
Because we got we got just clearly we got, just to be clear, we got the regathering in Obama America, like the day after the election. Me, Dr. Bolden, Dr. Yutzi at VCU, and Daruba bin Wahad and some others gathered. We got the Great Harlem Debates parts 1 and 2, where MarimbaAni is in both of those. I'm in part 2, in fact. And then we got
Francis Cress.
Cress she wasn't in either of these. So
okay, that was something.
Right. And how are you?
And then we got the debate with me and Amiri Baraka, the late great Amiri Baraka. We got all of that there. Where he was tearing us apart for not supporting Obama and
a lot of so-called
Afrocentrics
lost their goddamn minds in the Obama era, and now they just trying to bury that under the rug. A lot of, I've had even some Black Power media that I've had personal conversations and debate with. They came to me and admonished me for not supporting Obama and went off on me. I had a vegan restaurant at the time, and they were like, "You ain't got no Obama posters. You ain't got no Obama regalia, huh?"
Who?
Dr. Linwood Tahi, one of my mentors.
Ooh.
Yeah, I got in trouble for being anti-Obama in the 2006, 2007.
Oh man.
Yeah, we all took heat for that. We all took heat. Yeah, that was rough.
I got a lot of uninvites from a lot of spaces.
Oh, absolutely.
I found myself no longer being welcoming because I said that Obama's election would be a catastrophe for Black people. And people were like, yo, Obama's election is a culmination of all our works. Dr. of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, John Henry Clark. And this is a culmination of everything I've had people say some crazy stuff. But now in 2023, that's ancient history.
Ayikwe Arma actually said him being mixed situated him perfectly to bring the African into a new European world or whatever, something like that. That was our Ma said that.
Oh, and Obama, he's still doing dirt.
Oh, no question.
He's still up to no dirt. Now he's doing even more damage now.
Yeah,
no question. So anyway, yeah, I know there has never been really a call on the carpet. Well, all the people who publicly endorsed Obama, all the public figures who would publicly endorse Obama should have stepped up in 2016 and say, okay, I was right, I was wrong, and continue to stand on that. A lot of Obama supporters have swept the Obama era under the rug, and we're still suffering. The African continent is still suffering from the policies of the Obama administration and the atrocities.
To the channel.
She's still in Atlanta. I don't know exactly. I forgot the name of the group she works with, but she's still in Atlanta. She's still productive. She's not in Atlanta no more?
No, I'm about to say she's not on social media.
No, she's not on social media, but she's in Atlanta. She works. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you gotta actually be connected to these African-centered spaces to know where she is and what she's doing. And I'm not connected enough. Although my man just published something in one of her newspapers not long ago. So she's still active.
Relatively active.
Relatively active, and
she don't respond to a lot of stuff much anymore. Like, she don't want to participate in too many stuff much more.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah. So anyway, fellas, I think it's time we need to wrap up, unfortunately, for the week. Anything you want to leave us with or promote or give us a heads up on before we get out of here?
So we finishing the decolonial Marxism as a think tank, and one of our brothers who's from what is it? Eswatini? It used to be Swaziland. It's a new country now. Yeah, we're supposed to be doing a conversation for his audience about Woman King with a couple sisters that I know. So, but yeah, that's what we got.
Well, the Bro Diallo show will be back this week, and the Bro Diallo Black Power Cream Caucasians Use Rule Everything Around Me will be back this Wednesday. Also, I have been in contact with T.O. Hardyman. He has messaged me back. He told me what to do. I did everything he asked me to do, and I haven't heard from him since. So, y'all want to go see me and roam around Chicago, which I do myself. I roam Chicago by myself every day.
But you ain't with the mayor, though. He the mayor.
Right. So,
gotta be with the mayor.
If y'all want me to roam the hood with Tio, I did send him my contact information. He asked for my personal number. I sent him the number to my personal phone. I sent him all my contact info, and I'm awaiting to hear. So this ain't. Oh, is this him? Nope. I'm waiting to hear from Tio. So y'all got on me about failing to follow through on that, which I did. Initially, it was on me. I didn't follow through. I went and made myself, after that conversation, I went and made myself a cup of tea and got caught up in the other work. But I did contact him.
We need some Diallo Street Team t-shirts now.
That's that. Tune to the
I ain't on the streets, man. I'm not with
Diallo Street Team t-shirts.
That was my introduction to radio.
Thanks, fellas. Peace. Fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say. Go ahead, Diallo. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying, I'm not in the streets. I'm a cafe cardigan revolutionary.
Oh. So make sure if you want to respond to Diallo's thoughts on Cafe Cardigan Revolutionaries,
put it in the comments.
And we'll catch you next time right here on Earn Your Liberation. Peace, everybody.
Right.
Catch you next
Peace.
time. Thanks.